All right, guys, I wanted to give a review on my favorite raincoat there is. You see me wearing all of my favorite rain gear right here, and that's going to be this hat, my rubber boots, and this coat. This coat is like 90% of my rain gear. Maybe not 90%, but at least 80%. Okay, I want to give my honest opinion, my honest review. I've already done videos on this. Y'all know I love this coat, but I want to go through, I want to take it off, and I want to tear down my clothing after I've been out in a bad rainstorm and show y'all how wet the rest of my clothes are. Fair warning, I do have some moisture underneath here. I am a little bit wet, but I want to show you just how wet I am when I get into this. Now, first off, this is how I'm going to wear my coat if it's pouring rain, okay, like it was today. It's no longer pouring rain outside. But for a while out there, it was just straight up pouring rain, and I had no choice but to be out in it for several hours. And I had to get really down deep into it. And that's why I decided I wanted to make this video, because I figure, it just makes the most sense to make it right now. So this is how I'm going to wear it if it's pouring rain outside, or if I'm riding a four-wheeler very fast and it's raining outside. That's simply because the rain is going to be blowing into me. Okay, so this is how I'm doing it right here. I'll show you right off the bat, and then we'll get into getting down into the wet clothes, and y'all can see just how good this coat protects you, and make a decision for yourself. Is this worth it for you? Because they're not real cheap. They are pricey. Okay, so that's what's nice about this, is it's got like a nice 4-inch strip here that really helps keep that protected. So you take all of this off, okay? And a lot of coats, I'm not a big fan of snaps. I do like snaps, but I'm not a fan of them when it comes to keeping cold wind out. This one right here actually does it real well, because it's got one set of snaps and then an entire 4 inches that covers that other set of snaps. So this works really well, and it makes it easy to come in and out. Okay. So this is, and you see I've got my leg straps on. That's key when you got to have it closed, and especially if you know you're going to be out working, just because that keeps it kind of tucked in around you, but at the same time you still have freedom of movement. That's what's nice about those leg straps. And you've also got a split back here in the back. That helps you to climb on a horse or to climb on a four-wheeler and work, which is what we're going to do here on the farm. Okay, so I'm going to take that loose. And then this is going to be the way I'm going to wear it right here on most days. But, well, real quick, you see here, if I'm closing this up, this is important too. I want to zip this up, and I want to pull this other collar up. Any other collars and stuff I have up, I don't want them pushed down. I want them pulled up and around my neck. That way there's nothing to catch. Because the goal is that the water hits your hat and rolls off around it. And if I fold this collar down, that's one more spot for the rain to roll in. You want this collar popped up like this, and you want it all the way around if you're working a lot, or at least like this, if the jacket's open and it's not pouring rain. But you want it up. If the collar's down, you're risking rain getting on the collar and rolling in down your neck. Ask me how I know, okay? So then that's the other thing, is if you have this tight like this, then you want these other collars tight to help, keep. And I don't love that. It feels restricting to me, but it does help to keep rain from getting in there if it's really pouring down rain like it was just a minute ago. But the majority of the time, I wear this coat just like this right here. Okay, I'm still going to keep this collar up, because again, when I bring this collar down, you see that's coming past my protection of my hat. So I turn over, see, so like I'm right here, rain's getting on my collar. I turn over, guess what? The rain's draining down, and it's getting down in there. You think, oh, well, that's just a little bit. If you're out there working for a couple hours, you keep doing that. Like there was a time I was out there working with a calf, and you're bending over, you're moving stuff around, you're trying to keep that calf warm, and if you are getting water rolling down in there, guess what? Your clothes are getting wet. So I like to keep it popped up, because that seems to be the best for keeping me dry. Most of the time, like I said, I'm going to wear it open. A lot of times I'm just throwing this coat on. I try to spend as little time out in the rain as I can, realistically. Sometimes on the farm, you've got to be out there. So a lot of times I just throw it on, throw a hat on, I'm done, I'm good to go. And I just, run out to the shop. I got to grab something, or I just got to go do something real quick, or maybe I have to feed some hay. So a lot of times it ends up being open like this, especially if it's warm outside and I'm just trying to, you know, keep it all, I don't want to get too hot, okay? But right now, it's a little bit cool out there, so that's what I like about the size of it. It's not too big, but at the same time, I can wear this vest underneath and stay fairly warm, and it's a wonderful wind blocker. You get a lot of wind. You can tell when I turn around, I'm not sopping wet because we're doing renovation up here, but if I come up here sopping wet, even though we're doing renovation, my wife would be absolutely furious with me. So y'all forgive me, I did shake the coat off a little bit and knock off some of the water. But I've got hay, I've got moisture all over me. I don't know if you can tell real well. I mean, even after I come in, I had to set up everything for the video. You can tell my boots. You ought to be able to tell. I don't know if you can or not in the video. I've got hay where I've been feeding hay, grass all over the bottoms of my boots. Okay, so I'm going to start to take my clothes down here and start showing you how wet the rest of my clothes are, how dry I stay, because that's the most important part. At the end of the day, how dry did I stay? Because I use this coat. I see a lot of people, they've got clothes like this that they barely look in years, and they think they got an opinion about it. And it's like, how do you have an opinion about it? You know, I've only had this for, I think, 2 years, and I mean, I use it. So I've got an opinion about it because I use this thing a lot. You know, like I said, we actually move our cattle. We don't get out, you know, we're not in a tractor. Our experience on a farm is not in a cab tractor or in a nice side-by-side, and we only look at the cows when it's convenient to us. Our experience with cows is, and animals is, we're out there with them almost every day, okay? That's not knocking anybody, that's just our experience, and that's why I feel like I'm in a place where I can give an honest opinion about gear like this. All right, so you can tell that my boots, they've gotten some moisture on the very bottoms of my boots. But if you look up here, the tops of my boots are bone dry. There's nothing there, okay? My knees are a little wet. Now, why my knees are a little wet is because I got out, and I was having to work down on the ground. I had to get down on my knees and do something on the ground, and that caused my knees to get wet. But the rest of me stayed dry. Now, the other part of me that is actually a little bit wet is actually my butt. I don't know if you can see that or not, but my butt has got a little bit of water on it. So why is that? Well, this has got a split in the back so that you can sit on a saddle. Now, that comes with ups and downs, okay? But I'm out there on the fuller. I'm having to get on the fuller and back off again. On, back off, on, back off, okay? So the fuller seat's getting wet. The rain's pouring down on it. Every time I climb onto that fuller seat, I'm drying that seat off with my butt, okay? This helps some, but it's not going to keep me absolutely bone dry. Now, it does have a snap that you can snap this closed and you can keep it more closed. I could have done that and been better off. Maybe I'll give that a shot and see what I think later. But I usually try to keep some of the snaps open just because I would rather get a little bit wet and still have the freedom of movement. That's just me. Maybe it would not, maybe it'd be different with you, okay? Other than my butt being a little damp, I'm not talking about soaking wet, okay? I'll say it like this. I'm not soaked down to my skivvies, all right? My underwear is still dry. I'm dry. I feel dry, okay? I'm just feeling a little bit damp on the butt. Everywhere else, these jeans, they're dry. Okay, so now, this vest, I don't feel any moisture at all. I take the vest off. That vest, let me look around the collar. The collar is dry. At least I think it is. Let me make sure. I don't see anything, guys. I'm going to show it to you. I don't see any moisture around the collar. Now, why is that important? Because if you had water coming around the collar, that means it's going to potentially come down your back, maybe get into the rest of your shirt. So if you're dry around your collar, that's saying a lot, okay? Especially on your vest part, okay? The shirt, let's untuck this shirt here, all right? I'm a little damp around the edge of the cuff here, all right? The rest of my shirt, that's dry. I've got some stains right here where I was doing some work before. It's probably old cow poop, okay? But I'm a little damp right here because this stuck past the coat sleeve, okay? The coat sleeve was right here. I'm a little damp. Guess what? Right up above there, dry. So everywhere that thing covered, I'm dry on there. Now I'm gonna break this down because there may be some places on me that's wet that I'm not aware of, and that's why I want to be honest with y'all. I'm trying to show y'all this from an honest perspective, because there have been times when I was working out and I was driving fast on the four-wheeler. I was having to herd some cattle, okay, and we were really having to move in pouring rain. And in that instance, I was not bone dry. Okay, that water did get in right here and it drained down. I was pretty darn dry, and I wish I had a video of that to show y'all. But I was not 100% spotless. But I don't really know of any rain gear that would have been this tough in these scenarios while still giving me all the freedom of movement and would have kept me perfectly dry. I honestly don't know of any rain gear that would have been like that. I'm not saying there isn't. I'm just saying that's been my experience. Okay, so I want to feel this. Feel the collar. I don't feel any moisture. I really don't. And if you're looking at it, it doesn't seem to be wet to me. Okay? Trying to feel around the bottom here. I don't feel anything in the bottom. I think that shirt's dry. I feel dry here. I may be getting a little sweaty at this point because I've been wearing all these clothes when I'm coming up here. It's warm in this building, whereas it's actually cold out there. So I've been trying to get everything set up here, and I'm actually starting to sweat just a little bit. So I may be getting a little bit sweaty, but my shirt was bone dry. It may not be now if it's a little bit sweaty. I'm not sure. I don't feel any sweat. But if it is, it's just from sweat. I never got any moisture on here at all. All of this, everything in here, dry, dry, dry. So let's take off the boots. Let's see if the socks are dry. That's going to be important, okay? I have got my socks wet in the past because a lot of that water will come down and start to go down in there, okay? Okay, so I've got a little bit of moisture on the knees, as I mentioned. A little bit of moisture right there in that very pink right there. I'm talking about like an area that big, just a little bit. Not bad. Everything down here is bone dry. These socks, dry all the way down to the tips. I'm dry. I don't have any moisture on my feet. Your feet's where you're going to get sick. You get out there and your feet start getting wet because you've been working, you're going to get sick. So just a little short story. I don't want to hold y'all too long, but me and my wife, and I'm going to get to some more stuff on the coat here in just a minute, but me and my wife, when we first got started doing this, we would have all the rain gear. We even tried rain pants, okay? Because I know some people, I've heard people say this, well, if you had rain pants on, you wouldn't have any moisture down there, okay? So we tried the rain pants out and stuff. I'm sure there's some really expensive quality brands. First of all, they're hot, okay? They're just hot. So you end up sweating anyway, and then everything's wet because you're sweating. Now, maybe in other parts of the country, I don't know, but I mean, honestly, if it gets too cold, it's going to be snowing and not raining anyway. So for us, they're just too hot, and it's part of it. But the main thing is the pants that we had, they'd end up tearing up. You climb on your four-wheeler, you're getting down on your knees, they'd end up just tearing up. And everywhere you needed them to be dry, they were useless, okay? I just didn't like them. And she was the same way, she didn't like them. So what we ended up doing real soon was just wearing regular raincoats. Now, because we just had the coats, we would get a little bit more expensive coats, some nicer coats. I'm not going to talk about brands because I'm not trying to beat on anybody else. There's a lot of other good stuff for other people, okay? But we went ahead and upgraded a little bit and had some better than the old yellow raincoats. We had some decent raincoats. We get out there, we get working. It had the hood that come over top of your head, and you get on the four-wheeler, inevitably, either the hood would blow off, or if it didn't blow off, you would get rain that would kind of blow into the hood, and then next thing you know, it'd be draining down the back of your neck. Now the back of your shirt's wet, okay? And even if you got all this all zipped up and buttoned up, you got no cover. So if you zip that all the way tight, the hood, then you're all the way tight, and now water ends up getting in there anyway, okay? Because it's right here, okay? So a lot of times you'd have it opened just to keep it from draining down in the front part, but then it would get into the back and blow down into the back. And then you'd end up with water on you. You wouldn't be soaked to the bone necessarily, but then your pants would end up getting wet. So there were several times, especially when we were first getting started, it was right during the rainy spring, and we would go out there, it'd be cold and wet, and we'd be trying to take care of different problems, or we'd have problems with fencing because we were on brand new lease land and cattle would get out, and whatever the case may be, we'd have all these issues. And we would go out there in these raincoats trying to stay dry. By the end of the day, inevitably, we would always be sick because we would get soaked to the core. And the main thing is the water would get in your dang boots or whatever, and you would be soaked to the core. And I was like, well, what's the point? Why are we wearing this uncomfortable coat? It's barely keeping the water off of us. And that's when I went to that coat right there. It's very pricey. Not very pricey. I think it's about 150 bucks. But the thing looks like it's going to last forever. It's tough as all get out. It's very low maintenance. It's an awesome coat, and it's just been great to have, So I'm going to put it back on real quick, and I'm going to just show y'all real quickly here. Y'all will just bear with me. Oh. I like to tuck my pants into my boots just like that. And when I put my coat on, of course now I've got sawdust in my coat because there's sawdust up here because we've been doing some renovation. Okay. What I wanted to show you, and I failed to show you in the beginning, is right about where this boot comes, if I stand straight up, is right about where that coat comes down to, okay? Now, it's not perfectly flawless if you look at that. If the boot was a tad higher or the coat was a tad lower, I'd be fine. But even with it not being perfectly all the way down over top of the boot, because of the width here that I've got, this platform where it drains down off of everything, and then the coat itself is bigger than the platform of my body, than the base of my body, the majority of the water still goes down and past the boot, okay? So I don't want to nail it in too hard with this coat, but this is just an absolute must in my mind. This is, no matter what you do, if you're in the agriculture industry, if you even have a place outdoors and you think that you're going to have to get out into the weather, to me, you just can't beat this. This is my favorite coat. But with that being said, it seems to only work when you've got a real hat. When you've got an actual cowboy hat here, this hat right here, if you didn't have that, if you had something else, I don't think it would work as well. So if you're not planning on wearing a cowboy hat, or if you ain't got one or something like that, maybe get one, whatever you think, or a different style of hat, something that's big enough that it brings it past this collar. That being said, guys, I think that's all I got for you. I love the coat. That's about all I can say for it. I'm not sponsored at all. This is not a sponsored video. I'm not getting paid at all. I would take a sponsorship for this company because I think they're wonderful and I love their stuff, but I'm not sponsored. I'm not getting paid. I just want y'all to know my opinion, and this is just my opinion, and I love this coat. So like and subscribe for more.